Good day, fellas. I hope you are ready for your daily dose of skill, and today we are going to have a movie time from Wargaming. Wargaming released the video, Tank Coach How to Aim in World of Tanks. And we are going to talk about this, we are going to have a conversation, and we will see what kind of video Wargaming made. Actually, you know what, no BS opinion video is 4 out of 5, it's not bad by any shape or any form, apart couple of very important things, and we are going to talk about this. Nevertheless, let's see what Wargaming has prepared for us after 12 years of playing the game.
Hello, tankers. I'm your instructor. Today, we'll talk about shooting. Here they are, these beauties. The cannons, a tank's main feature, without which it'd only be an armored car at best. But a gun's caliber means nothing unless you know how to use it.
Use auto-aim and you're fine.
Let's cover the most important terms and mechanics first. Accuracy. To improve your chances of hitting your target, stop and wait until the dispersion circle is as small as possible. Remember that a shell can go anywhere in the circle.
This is the first BS from Wargaming side. The first minute into the video and Wargaming got something wrong. Most of you know that the reticle which we have in the game is bigger than you actually are going to hit. What do I mean by saying this? Imagine this is the in-game reticle, that means you are not hitting to the sides. You are hitting only right there. What Wargaming said, it is a lag prevention or something like this, right? What do I mean by saying this is wrong information. In the game client, we have the reticle which is actually bigger than we can hit. That's why the mods like True Reticle actually exists. Obviously, if you are lagging, right, if you have a bad ping or something, then it is going to be a problem. But other than that, this is already wrong, to be completely honest with you. I have a video that explains how does it work. It is going to be pinned in the description down below.
Sometimes it can also fly beyond the circle's borders. This happens due to a lag between the game client and the server. For example, in your game client, you may have already turned to your target, but on the server, you're still turning. To minimize this delay, you can enable server reticle in the settings. It's not as smooth, but it shows the actual situation on the server. The aiming circle grows upon firing, on the move, and during hull and turret traverse. How big the aiming circle is when you're not fully aimed is called stabilization. To lock onto targets while you're on the move, use auto-aim. It's hard to hit a target you can't see. If a target is beyond your view range circle, you won't be able to spot it yourself. If it's beyond the draw circle, you won't see it even if your allies can. Different guns and shells have different armor penetration. Enable the penetration marker in the game settings. It's an invaluable tool for new players. The marker.
This is a tool that is crazy for everyone. It doesn't matter. You are a new player, you are an old school player, it doesn't matter. This is what you definitely need to do. You need to enable this setting for sure.
Will show the most likely result of your shot. Remember that there's a range of plus minus 25% to damage and penetration. Two identical shots can give different results. Shell trajectory is calculated automatically by a ballistic calculator, so you don't need to raise your gun. But when your target is moving, it's best not to use auto-aim. Aim manually and consider the velocity of the shell you're using. It often depends on one of the 4 shell types. Armor-piercing shells usually have good velocity. They penetrate obstacles and screens well. However, they lose penetration value over distance and can bounce off armor when hitting it at acute angles. But they have the best normalization of all shell types. Normalization is the shell's ability to turn a few degrees toward a vehicle's armor when hitting it. This way, the impact angle becomes better and effective armor is reduced. APCR shells.
I did not know this stuff, to be completely honest with you, before this video. I knew AP is worse than heat. Heat usually is worse than APCR whenever you are shooting through the distance and whatnot, right? About normalization or dig deeper, I'm not the guy who is doing that, right? But now we know if Wargaming got this right.
Usually have the best velocity. They also penetrate obstacles and screens. Upon contact with armor, they also normalize, but to a smaller degree than AP shells. Their main disadvantages are that they lose a lot of penetration power over distance and ricochet at more acute angles. This means they're not the best choice for firing at well-sloped armor. This is where heat shells come in handy. They almost never ricochet and usually have good penetration. They don't lose penetration power at a distance, but they usually have worse velocity than APCR and AP shells.
This is a funny experimental thing, or I supposed to say this is a funny example. APs has 1,200 meters shell velocity, APCRs has 990 meters shell velocity, and heat has 412 meters shell velocity. This is such a weird example. It's not even funny, okay? This is such a weird example. AP faster than APCR, and heat is the slowest by this margin. That is quite weird.
The drawbacks of heat shells are that they don't normalize and are worse at dealing with screens or obstacles. This is due to their explosive effect. High explosive shells cause devastating damage, but usually penetrate armor very poorly. They don't lose penetration power over distance. HE shells don't normalize, but they never bounce off either. They cause minor damage even without penetration.
Well, to talk about this, how many of you had the situation whenever you play with your cover 2 or alternatively Death Star Trash Barn or whatever else, and whenever you hit the armor, you are doing 0? We have plenty of the situations like this.
The damage caused depends on the effective armor at the impact point. You shouldn't rely on them though. It's better to penetrate the enemy's armor with another shell and save your HE shells for a thin target. Overall, AP shells are effective and versatile. APCR shells travel fast but often ricochet. Heat shells almost never ricochet but are ineffective against obstacles and screens. HE shells are the most niche use case and usually for targets with very thin armor. Different tanks can have completely different shell loadouts, but for all vehicles, the first shell is an affordable standard one. The second is a more expensive special round with improved characteristics. And the third is a high explosive shell. You can change their order for a particular vehicle in your garage. It's important to know the 3 caliber rule. It limits ricochets for thin armor. If a shell's caliber is 3 times higher than nominal armor at the impact point, it won't ricochet. Only effective armor will be calculated for any shell in this case. For example,
okay, just to stay calm, Wargaming is almost correct with this, that the things are looking like this. There is a 3 caliber rule, right? Wargaming is correct about this. But what is wrong, and I'm going to demonstrate that to you, every and each of you know that there is index page where you can check armor, there is TankGG where you can check armor and whatnot, right? And Wargaming kind of got it right, but not really. So now this is a typical example for you. Esterva has 40 millimeters plate or armor, right? But since it is in the steep angle, you are bouncing. And now please pay attention what kind of gun we are using. 120 millimeters gun, right? And skill, what do you mean? You are not penetrating, but this is 3 times bigger. Exactly, this is 3 times bigger, but it doesn't work this way. You need 3 times bigger plus 0.1, right? Or plus 1, whatever that is. So pretty much, this is the difference between 120 millimeter gun whenever you cannot penetrate or auto-penetrate the 40 millimeters plate, and whenever you are having something something better or something over 120 millimeters. In this situation, 127 millimeters. This is a typical example for you. Plus, on top of that, it's worth to highlight as well that, let's say, you can take the tank with, let's say, heat penetration, right? Let's take this example, right? And then with the heats, you are going to shred through the tank nevertheless, right? Heat works completely differently. But this is a worth thing to highlight. So Wargaming in their own promo video, they got the things wrong. Can you imagine that? That is a fun thing.
When firing at the highly angled armor of the STR-V103B, the shell's caliber is more important than penetration. Now let's talk about how different guns are loaded. Cyclic guns are a simple and reliable option when shells are loaded one by one. Auto-loading refers to a batch of shells that are loaded together and fired off one by one. Vehicles with autoloaders are deadly with a full magazine, but vulnerable during reload. The auto-reloading mechanism is similar to autoloaders, but you can fire a few shells without resetting the entire magazine. The missing shells will reload automatically. Remember that shell auto-reloading is reset upon firing. Don't fire before the shell is loaded unless you have to. Improved auto-reloading partially solves this problem by accelerating preparation of the next shell if the loading process was reset by firing. The mechanics of double-barreled tanks are similar to auto-reloading, but both guns have the same loading time. You can also do this. In the next episodes, we'll talk about the differences between double-barreled tanks.
That's fair.
Guns with deep rifling differ from others, as their APCR shells lose not only penetration, but also damage over distance. In the future, you'll see guns with an automatic firing mode and more.
I am so excited about this new line. I am so excited about this. I'm a sucker for autoloaders. I truly love them. So that thing should be fun. I can imagine this line like a tier 5 Leo. This is what I can imagine, okay?
So, we've learned the basic mechanics. Now let's try some trap shooting. If the target is stationary, wait for full aiming. If it's moving, you'll need to lead your shot. If it's armored, pick a weak spot. At the front, that's usually the lower glacis plate, driver's hatch, commander's cupola, and so on. Sometimes it can even be the gun mantlet. When you're starting out, use the penetration indicator, but also try to learn and memorize the armor layout of various vehicles. In addition to aiming at weak spots, you can change your direction.
Or I suppose to say you can always use the index if you do not know how to penetrate the vehicle, right? Find the tank you are interested in, click the 3D, and you will know all armor models, just like so.
Of attack. Even tough nuts are much easier to crack from the side or rear. And if you're much higher than your opponent, try to penetrate their roof. Remember that some vehicles don't have any serious armor. For example, light tanks are harder to land a hit on than to penetrate. It's useful to remember the layout of internal modules in enemy vehicles.
Oh, really? I wonder where we can get this information.
Aiming at their fuel tanks, engine, and ammo rack will give you an advantage. Your chance of taking out an internal module depends on how much damage you cause it. You can find more information about module layout with the help of the World of Tanks community.
I do not know, should I cry or should I laugh about this? Should I cry or should I laugh about this, fellas? Clearly, Wargaming has the information about this, but they are not sharing that with us. But you know what? Don't worry. Soon, we are going to have the internal modules in the index page. We are working on it. We are getting there, okay? Please keep this in mind. But yeah, I mean, this is even pathetic thing from our gaming side to say, well, if you do not know where the internal modules are, ask World of Tanks community. Well, that's quite pathetic if you would ask me, and this is quite sad, okay? I really want to say that this is laughable, because this information, Wargaming doesn't give this type of information. You know how to extract this, or alternatively, you need to know how to get this data in otherwise, or in other way, you know? So yeah.
External modules can also be disabled. Experienced tankers often immobilize enemy vehicles by shooting at their front or rear drive wheel or idler. Keep in mind that, after hitting an external module, shells keep on traveling and can penetrate the vehicle's main armor if they overlap. That's why shooting at a drive wheel doesn't do any damage from head-on, but can from the side. If the cost of the shot is high, it's better to knock off tracks with damage. In all other cases, destroy tracks even without causing damage. Immobilizing the enemy is very useful. Remember that tracks work as screens, also known as spaced armor. Some tanks are hard to stop due to their reserve track or wheels. When firing at a target, you often need to lower your gun to aim from behind terrain so you don't expose yourself. Different guns have very different gun depression angles. By using terrain correctly, you can minimize the lack of gun depression. There are also pneumatic suspension mechanics that help depress your gun. If the suspension is activated by pressing a button and not automatically, this is called siege mode. Besides gun depression, it also affects your mobility and many shooting parameters. In other words, a vehicle with siege mode can either roll fast or fire well. It looks like we're ready for battle. Or are we?
Always ready.
Before we do, let's take a look at how you can improve your firing parameters in the garage. Crew perks. Intuition will allow the loader to change the type of loaded shell quickly. This way, you can quickly switch from a heat shell to AP to take out enemy tracks with damage, or to an HE shell to deal more damage to a target with little armor. Other perks can improve stabilization, shell velocity, and many other gun parameters. Try.
Before you started yelling about the shell velocity, Wargaming isn't wrong. There will be perks that can help your shell velocity to travel faster, but we do not have those perks yet, right? As many of you know that the crew change, or I suppose to say the crew rework skills are coming, right? So please keep this in mind. They are not wrong over there, although if I would be Wargaming, I probably would have waited another whatever time it would take in order to introduce this into the game, right? Then it would be significantly more clear, but fair is fair.
Them all. Consumables. Food consumables will boost all characteristics that your crew affects. A little better loading speed, stabilization, aiming time, and so on. Equipment. Gun rammer improves gun loading speed. Experienced tankers value it highly, but it can't be mounted on tanks with auto-loading mechanisms of any type.
You know I need to shit talk Wargaming, right? You know that. Okay, that being said, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, I would love to show you one thing. There is a tank called Chiri. If we would go into configuration of the Mr. Chiri, we would select the autoloader gun, We can read this, right? Auto-loading tank gun. We are selecting this, we are clicking accept, and we are selecting this. I mean, you know what? Call me hacker, but you can use a rammer on the auto-loader tank, okay? Tank, not tanks, tank. Chiri is only one exception in the game. But you see, there is always exception to every rule.
Vertical stabilizer makes the aiming circle smaller on the move. It's useful, but it can't be equipped on many low-tier vehicles or any tank destroyers. Enhanced gun laying drive is useful for tank destroyers that can't use the stabilizer.
I will translate. Enchanted gun laying drive is useless for everything apart art. When we have this out of the way, great.
Improved aiming makes the dispersion circle slightly smaller, both on the move and when fully aimed. It's useful for certain tank destroyers and snipers shooting from a distance. Improved ventilation improves everything a little. It's like a food consumable, but with a smaller effect. Field modification will let you further improve shooting parameters and unlock a special second equipment slot. It's better to put equipment of the respective specialization there.
Oh, Wargaming. Wargaming forgot to mention one most important thing. If you have bond, bounty, or experimental equipment, it doesn't matter in what slot you are going to put because it won't give extra effect. So this extra effect works only with a standard equipment. Keep this in mind, it is very, very important because even to this day, God forbid, if I am using ventilation in the wrong slot or rammer in the wrong slot, I'm getting still PSD from your side, if you know what I mean. It doesn't matter if you're using bounty, bond, or experimental equipment, in what slot this equipment is sitting at.
Experimental equipment combines bonuses from different pieces of equipment. For example, stabilizer and gun laying drive. So, we know how to shoot and what to shoot with. We're loaded and ready for battle. But if there are multiple targets in battle, who do you shoot first? This is called focus fire. Check their hit points.
If you are damaged for, you are shooting the tank who has the most hit points, especially whenever you are playing with a Death Star or Trash Burn.
Most of the time, it's best to remove a tank with low HP from the fight. If you have a high caliber, sometimes it's better to cause more damage, but only if you're sure that the one-shot enemy won't run away and become a nuisance for you or your team.
Okay, hear me out. I can promise you that this Trash Burn getting slaughtered now will be happy and he will be with a smile on his face for doing 2,600 damage to the 60 DP, okay? He doesn't care that he's going to take one for the team from the budget because he already did 2,600 damage with one shot. That was a correct choice. You are certified damage 4. Good job, Fava.
If you're playing in a platoon or just attacking together with your allies, you should focus your fire on one target. You also need to pick the fastest, most vulnerable, and most dangerous targets. For example, between a heavy tank and an ambush tank destroyer, it's better to choose the latter. It's easier to destroy, and this way, you'll eliminate its dangerous gun from battle.
I think the guy was shooting with a Kranwagen, and even in the video they couldn't get him getting the kill or getting the damage overall. That tank is that accurate. It depends on the situation. In this moment, for example, I would probably try to slap the living crap out of the MX even though the Grille is behind, because it depends how accurate the tank is. If the tank is very inaccurate, you can try to shoot the pigeons. What's from that? All you will get in return is the pigeon shit, you know?
Hackers often choose reliable damage, closer targets with exposed sides, and so on. It's always better to cause damage than not to. But if you see a full HP heavy right in front of you, and a light tank with HP for one shot running away a little further off, weigh up your chances of hitting the priority target.
That's fair.
Also, when picking a target, see who you can immobilize by taking out their tracks. Let's say you're fighting well on the front line, when suddenly you hear the siren wailing and see the base capture bar. How can you reset the capture? You need to cause damage to the enemy vehicle or damage any of its modules. This means destroying a track or damaging the gun will also reset the bar.
That is fair, but keep this in mind if you hear the sirens and you see that there is someone near the base and he can damage the base, or I'm supposed to say decap the base. Sometimes the correct decision isn't to just simply go for a base defense, although it's most of the time the case, right? Defending the base is better than attacking. But let's say if there is already a couple of folks who are near the base or who are going towards the base, and you see a lot of damage, a lot of enemy forces are sitting in their base and camping, or there is a mouse who is just simply waving with his gun and saying, "Farm me," then it could be a debatable decision of what do you want to do, if you know what I mean.
And now, the most important thing needed for effective fire: your position. Even if you've prepared your tank, skillfully aim at weak spots, masterfully lead your targets, you're useless if you're not in the right position.
I mean, that's the good one. But this is a typical tank destroyer gameplay, okay? I have seen so many folks sitting over there. It is crazy, okay?
Watch what other players do in your battles. Watch some streamers with good statistics.
Good statistics? From now on, we are going to have WN8 in the title. That's it.
Memorize the best positions and don't be afraid to experiment. Remember that technically, the closer you are to the enemy, the more effective your fire will be. Get close, but not too close. Try to have cover and allies nearby, as well as a way to retreat. Monitor how the battle unfolds to attack or run away in time. A good position on the map is sometimes even more important than knowledge of weak spots and shooting mechanics. That's it for today. Show this video to your friends who are still hugging the red line and firing HE shells at the upper glacis. In the next episode, we'll talk about armor and damage blocking.
Okay, overall, video isn't bad by any shape or any form, but Wargaming got some things wrong, and it is important to highlight this, right? It is very, very, very important. But overall, it is not bad to educate World of Tanks player base and to make more videos like this. Kudos from me to Wargaming. That's all right. Although, once again, get your shit together and make the video without mistakes next time, and everything is going to be absolutely glorious and absolutely amazing. Fellas, that's what I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this one. Actually, pretty good video from Wargaming side. Feel free to say, feel free to tell me which parts were the most interesting for you, as an example with the internal module stuff. Well, if you need to shoot where internal modules are. How you can know this? Ask World of Tanks community. Yeah, that's quite a good one. Anyways. Thank you very much for watching. Love you with all my heart and see you very, very soon. Skill is out for today. Peace.